Welcome to the CFBISD Board Trustee Candidate Forum. My name is Grace Spees, Executive Director of the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce, and we have Margaret Summereve, who is with the Metro Crest Republican Club, who will be moderating with us today. So we're going to go ahead and bring all of the ladies out that are candidates. We have Sally Derrick, Sydney Drake, and Cassandra Hatfield. I'm going to hop off and let you ladies take it from here.
Thank you, Grace. I appreciate it. Again, my name is Margaret Summereve. I am the president of the Metro Crest Republican Club, and we're very excited to be able to co-host this event with the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce. We're going to get started. I'm going to let each lady give a brief background on themselves, why they're running, how long you've lived in the district, and why you think you're the best candidate. So we'll start with that. We're going to start in alphabetical order, and I'm going to turn it over to Sally first. And Sally is still muted.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. I'm Sally Derrick. Margaret and Grace asked that I start the evening by quickly telling our viewers about the cumulative voting system for the Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD school board elections. This year, there are 2 seats up for election, which means every voter has 2 votes that they will be able to cast however they choose. There's 3 candidates for the 2 seats. All seats are at large. You can use your votes either on 2 different candidates or on the same candidate. Again, that's 2 votes for you to choose however you would like, because there are 2 seats up for this May election. Okay, and I will get started. Like I said, my name is Sally Derrick, and I'm the current vice president of the Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD School Board. I want to thank the Farmers Branch Chamber and Metro Crest Republicans for hosting tonight's forum. I'm a lifelong resident of Carrollton Farmers Branch. My husband Tony and I live here in Farmers Branch with our 2 daughters, Emily and Addison, who both attend CFBISD schools. I've had the unique experience as a board member of having had children who've now attended CFBISD at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. My involvement in our schools began in 2009, and for over 12 years, I've been an active volunteer and passionate advocate for our schools. As a board member, I've served on the audit committee for the past 2 years, and I currently serve as the board representative on the bond oversight committee. Previous to my election on the school board, I served on numerous city boards and commissions, including the library board, the family advisory board, and the charter review committee. As a school board member, I've been able to bring my passion for our schools and our communities together, and I look forward to the opportunity of serving for 3 more years. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. And now, Sydney Drake.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to the Metro Crest Republicans and the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. My name is Sydney Drake, and I'm running to be your next school board trustee. I am a proud CFBISD parent, nonprofit leader, and lifelong resident of Texas. I am passionate and dedicated to serving students, teachers, staff, and parents. I understand how quality education unlocks opportunities for students in our community. And it's because of supportive educators and hard work and perseverance that I was able to earn my master's degree in social work. I'm an engaged member of our community, a paying member of PTA, and a proud parent. I'm very knowledgeable about governing board policies and procedures due to my previous work experience as a paralegal. And currently, I am the Southeast Regional Program Manager for Ignite National. It's a national nonprofit organization that serves young women, including young women in our district and across the state in this region. After years of regularly attending school board meetings and being an active member of various committees for the district, last year I asked myself how I could better serve the district that I love, and I decided to run for school board. And I came up short by a few hundred votes. I'm running again because I am deeply invested in our district. Since 2019, I've been appointed to the Bond Oversight Committee to oversee the groundbreaking projects for the $350 million bond. And additionally, I worked alongside CFBISD educators and community stakeholders as a member of the Collaborative Vision 2030 Committee. As a member of that committee, I also analyzed data and provided direction for the efficient and effective use of taxpayers' funds. As a CFB school board member, I will focus on making decisions based on 4 principles, and that's quality, equitable education, supporting educator effectiveness, and fiscal transparency. My extensive experience within the CFBISD system, my advocacy work in empowering marginalized communities, and my lived experiences that reflect the CFBISD community make me the ideal choice as your next school board trustee. I humbly ask that you cast your 2 votes for me on or before May 1st. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sydney. And now for Cassandra.
Good evening. Thank you to the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce and the MetroCrest Republican Club for hosting this forum. My name is Cassandra Hatfield. I have 17 years of experience in education, ranging from being a math teacher and district specialist, managing STEM education research projects, and teaching future teachers and administrators at a local university. 3 of my years in education were in CFBISD as an elementary math specialist serving between 5 and 9 campuses. My family returned to Carrollton for our children to go to CFB schools, and we have lived here for the past 4 years. The high quality programs, professional development provided for teachers, and the dual language education was a priority for us. Based on my experience as an employee, I knew I could trust our school system to meet the needs of my children who are now in pre-K and 3rd grade. I have been actively engaged in our schools and our community, and I will continue to be active as an advocate for children. My education and management experiences have been an asset to my service to the community and district. My service includes being active in my children's PTA, serving in 2 vice president roles, being the secretary of the District Improvement Committee and active on a campus improvement committee. I've also served as a troop cookie manager for a local Girl Scout troop. I believe in CFB and in public education. As a school board trustee, I will keep our children a priority, our community engaged, and utilize my management and education experience and expertise to ensure our future as the district continues as bright as it is now and even better, and I'll monitor and steward the taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to get started with the questions. I'm going to let everyone have 3 minutes for a question. When you're down to the 2-minute mark, I'm going to hold up this yellow card, and that means you have a minute left. So we're going to start with Cassandra this time. So the last year has been unprecedented in the education of our children, between the shutdown and COVID and remote learning and Wi-Fi and all that. What are the positives that have come from all of this? And do you see any of that being integrated into the future?
So I think during the past year, we've seen the value of the balance between hands-on and technology-based instruction. Our elementary children still need to use their fine motor skills to write. They need to touch books. They need to engage in math manipulatives. They need to be active in their learning environment, as do our secondary students. And it's critically important to the development of our children that we find a balance between hands-on and technology-based instruction. I think it's been incredible to see how assistive technology has been employed during this time. For example, my daughter's dyslexic, and the amount of services that she can get through the technology and being able to dictate her answers is incredible. But we also need to find a balance, because now I see her dictating her answers more than I do writing her answers, and those fine motor skills are also important. I think it has pushed us to be innovative in how we use technology, and I'm really looking forward to how we engage with our teachers in the decision-making of what tools that we've employed over the past 4 years, or the past year, and the resources that they want to continue to not only use, but also continue to grow and learn more about so that they can be effective in the classroom with all the things they've learned. I think it's also important to highlight that this year has taught us the necessity of wraparound services for the whole child. Our food nutrition is critically important. The vision support, the vaccine supports, the CFB Giving House has been a necessity, and our counseling services must continue to be a priority. So I think it's definitely taught us a lot, and there are a lot of things that have come out of it, and we need to continue to work to integrate many of the things we've learned.
Okay, great. Sydney, to you, what do you see are the positives that have come from all of this remote learning? And do you see any of that being integrated into the future?
Yes, I think this is an important question because we didn't necessarily see COVID coming and the impact that it would have on our district. And another thing that we'll have to admit is that there are going to be learning disruptions with our students. But we have to trust our teachers, and as they are the most knowledgeable where our students are academically. And I also think to kind of combat those learning disruptions, we should implement measurements such as monthly growth check-ins or yearly testing at the beginning or the end of the school year so we can see where our students are. But COVID has really shifted education, and districts are going to have to respond to the needs of the students who want to remain remote learners. This pandemic has forced a lot of our students to become the head earner in their household as a result of their parents being unemployed. So it's important to me as a school board member to understand that learning for one child will not be the same for all children. And so one thing that I am excited about is that our district is gearing up and planning to have some form of a virtual campus, which will be web-based learning initiative designed to provide extended and flexible learning opportunities for students. And I hope programs like this will grow because they offer different learning modalities for our students, but also want to make sure that they're fair and they're equitable, and that our students will be able to have access to things like hotspots and still have access to their laptops as well.
Okay, great. And then Sally, to you, same question.
Okay. Well, I think unprecedented is definitely the understatement of the year, especially when it comes to education. What I can say, though, with certainty is that the CFBISD community has been a shining example of the positivity during very difficult days over the past year. I have to start by acknowledging the heroic efforts of our staff. There's numerous examples of how our staff went above and beyond. Oftentimes, those stories that I saw brought me to tears. And one of the ones that I remembered so vividly was Miss Marsh, who was a fourth grade teacher at Rainwater. The district and state experienced widespread connectivity issues one day in the middle of remote teaching. Miss Marsh ran to her car with her cell phone so that she could log back on from her cell phone connectivity and keep teaching her students via Zoom. Started reading to her kids Where the Wild Things Are, which I think is just so appropriate because we were definitely living in wild times at that point. So those heroic efforts of our staff is definitely something that we should celebrate. Another positive that came out of the past year was our ability to shift and start offering more virtual options for our families. Parents were able to start attending parent-teacher conferences virtually. They were able to start watching school board meetings live and also attend district-led committees online. The shift resulted in us increasing accessibility and improved the communication and community engagement to our families. And parents who oftentimes had struggled with being able to participate could now do so from the comfort of their homes. We've also had more people now watching our school board meetings online than we're ever able to attend in person. And I think that increase in accessibility and participation is something that will only be a benefit to us going forward. All of these examples are positive outcomes from the past year. And as a district, we've learned to be more flexible. And going forward, I imagine that we'll be able to continue these efforts so that we have a more engaged community in the future.
Great. Okay. We're going to start with you, Sally. We'll go back around the other way. What are 2 or 3 strengths that our district can be proud of? And why do you see these as the strengths for Carrollton Farmers Branch?
The CFB has a lot to be proud of. I will start with our tax rate. We have one of the lowest tax rates in all of the Metroplex for a school district. And that is due to the hard work of our financial department, the work of Steve Bassett, and then those who've come before him. We've been able as a board to advocate to keep that tax rate low, but at the same time ensuring top-notch education for our students. We weren't willing to compromise one for the other. Another thing that I think we can be very proud of as a district is our graduation rate. The CFBISD graduation rate is currently 94.8%, which is higher than the 90% of Texas, the overall Texas rate. Of course, it's not 100%, so our work is not done until we have 100% graduation rate. However, we are going to always continue to strive for better. And as a board member, I will continue to focus and remain ensuring that our taxpayers and students are receiving the highest return on the investment.
Great. Okay. Sydney, what do you see as the school district's 2 or 3 great strengths?
I echo what Sally just said. I think there are a lot of things that we could be proud of with our district. But one of the things that is important to me is supporting our teachers, especially during COVID. Supporting teachers is very important to me because I believe in order for teachers to be effective, they need to be uplifted. And I'm very proud of what our district has done to support our teachers, including, making sure that staff are able to keep their days when they needed to be quarantined. I believe they got a bonus check in November. They have one planning day each month, and now all of the new technology to teach in person and online teach in person and online students can even be taken home. So if a teacher needs to teach from home, they have that flexibility. Another thing that I'm really, really proud of is like Sally said, our tax rate. It's one of the lowest in the Metroplex, and I believe that our district is in a good financial position going forward. I am a member of the Bond Oversight Committee. I'm a current member, and I know the importance of being a good steward of our tax dollars. And as a school board member, I will always be transparent about such because I think it's very important.
Okay. Cassandra, 2 or 3 strengths you think the school board does really well, or the school district does really well?
Well, I am really proud of the CCMR program, which is the College Career and Military Readiness department. They offer the support services to be able to help students and families understand the necessity for being prepared post-high school for college, career, and military readiness. They help students make personalized choices that meet their needs to be successful, being that via more education or going straight into a career, understanding the value of our AP courses and dual credit courses, preparing for SAT and ACT, participating in work-based learning opportunities so students can explore a career pathway before going into college. Because let's face it, it's been a while since I've been in college, and it's been a while since all of us have. And it's hard. I've heard from parents in the community that it's really challenging to go back to that stage and remember, how do you apply for scholarships? How do you apply for FAFSA? How do you make sure you get your applications correct? And so the work that the district is doing on parent education and supporting students and ensuring they can move on to that next phase of their life successfully has been a real asset to our community and continues to also support our graduation rate. I believe that our graduation rate being 94.8%, keeping it that high isn't easy, but we are above the state, and we are continuously monitoring and supporting students and being able to be successful at graduating. Over the next few years, it's going to be critically important that we continue to work to maintain that rate, given the learning losses and the challenges that have occurred over the last year. Many of our students have not been able to take advantage of some of the traditional things that we have offered. We have done an amazing job supporting virtually, but sometimes it's just not the same as when we're in person with our kids and we can connect with them face to face. So it's going to be really important that we continue our trajectory with these graduation rates in the CCMR, and I'm really proud of the efforts the district has made for our students in that way.
Okay, well, let's look at the other side of that coin. I will start with Cassandra. We'll go back around the other way. What do you think are 2 or 3 needs or issues that should be a priority for our district to address? And how will you make these a priority if you're elected to the school board?
So something that's really important as we start to peel back the layers on the learning loss is a data management system. And I really believe that teachers need the supports to track the sources of multiple evidence so they can make decisions for how students will have a next stepping stone in their progression of learning. Research shows that intervention should meet the students where they are. So we need to be able to triangulate data and ensure that we are correctly identifying exactly where a student is so that teachers can efficiently and effectively plan forward based on the instructional needs of our children. Our teachers do an amazing job of planning lessons and studying and really identifying where students are, but we need to ensure that we have a data management system that is actually doing that work for them in a more effective way so that they can be focused on the lessons and engaging with the students. Additionally, I think we must advocate for the full funding of what we started with House Bill 3, plus the ESSER funds or the relief funds coming from COVID so that we can meet these needs of our children. We have to prioritize recovering the learning loss and ensuring that we are recognizing that the systems and structures that we put in place can support us for the long haul. So I really think that prioritizing a data management system and continuing to prioritize as our district does so well the management of our funds will continue to be very important.
Great. Sydney, your take on this?
Sorry, had to unmute. I think one of the biggest challenges that our district is facing right now is funding and the aftermath of COVID-19. And I cannot stress that enough. We really need our state legislators to provide funding to our schools to address the extra learning challenges our children are facing due to the COVID-related learning disruptions. There's nearly $17.9 billion in federal funds that have been promised to our Texas schools that are literally hanging in the balance. And as a school board member, I would advocate to our lawmakers to fund our schools. Funding is critically needed to recover from the crisis, and our schools deserve more support and not less. And I also think when our schools do fully reopen, there will need to be an emphasis on reaching out to the most vulnerable and making sure the needs of our students, including aiding in any mental health issues, social issues, nutritional issues, and/or health concerns. We need to protect our students, and we need to also transform the way the learning is provided and recognize that the world was experiencing a learning crisis way before the pandemic. And as a social worker and as someone who has a master's in social work with emphasis on mental health and substance abuse, social emotional learning is very near and dear to me. A lot of our students are 80% students of color, 64% are deemed economically disadvantaged. And we have to make sure that we are meeting their needs above all else. And everything with COVID has been emphasized, and we as school board members must address those needs, because those students should not fall through the cracks over something that they had no control over.
Okay, thank you. Sally, now to you. What are 2 or 3 needs that must be priorities for our district to address, and how do you make those a priority?
The full funding of Texas Public Schools is definitely a top priority. We have to guarantee that our state legislators release the full ESSER funds that are currently sitting in Austin. Those funds were intended for our schools. And without this, our school districts are going to be challenged for all the learning losses and social emotional needs of the past year. The learning losses are real. We cannot deny that. And we have to address that. But the first thing we need to do is address the social emotional needs of our students. The traumas that we have experienced, that our students have experienced especially, are going to impact them for years to come. And we as a district have to be prepared to support those students. I support the district's efforts in addressing these needs. And as a board, we've already approved the funding and implementation of an after-hours in-district counseling center that's currently staffed by licensed personnel. As a board member, I will support the extension of this program as well as the staffing needs on campus so that we can address the needs most quickly. With the full receipt of the ESSER funds, we can be prepared to respond appropriately to all of the needs of the whole child. The learning losses must also be addressed, and I support our district's efforts in doing so. The addition of a robust district-wide summer extension of learning for those students who need it most is coming this summer, and I'm really proud of that work. We have to start now in addressing those gaps, and this is not the end, and I'm dedicated to the long-term recovery efforts for as long as it takes until all students in CFBISD are back on track for graduation.
Okay, great. Our next question, we're getting through these questions. I'm not having to hold up your time card on here, so we're getting through this very quickly. The next question is, how do you plan to be a visible, accessible leader communicating with all segments of the population? And we'll start with Sally.
Okay, making sure I'm muted. For the past 3 years, I've served our school district as one of the most engaged and publicly visible and openly communicative members of the board. I've attended community and district and campus level events. I also currently serve on the Bond Oversight Committee board as the board representative. I'm very engaged. I take my role as a school board trustee member very seriously. I was elected to serve and represent our entire community and not just a select few. This is my hometown community. Service to my community is not new. This is not going to change if reelected.
Okay, great. And Sydney, how do you plan to be a visible, accessible leader if you're elected to the school board?
Yes, so our community is our greatest stakeholder, and their involvement is critical for us to accomplish our mission that has been set forth by the Collaborative Vision 2030 Committee and our Board of Trustees, and that is that CFB will be an exceptional learning community where all graduate impact and excel in complex, interconnected, and ever-changing world. And our mission is to empower students to acquire lifelong knowledgeable skills and values that prepare them to compete in the world marketplace while contributing to their community. And personally, for me, I will have an open door policy and will be accessible to all of our members in our community. It's important to me that our community feels like they have a voice, because we're going to be elected representatives, and we are elected to represent the entire community and not just a part of it. And I respect that, and I look forward to working with every member of the CFBISD community as a school board trustee.
Thank you. And Cassandra, how do you plan to be a visible, accessible leader if you're elected to the school board?
So I plan to stay engaged in my children's PTA as the kindergarten liaison, supporting incoming kinder parents and understanding our PTA and school district. It's important that we connect with our families early on in the K through 12 experience. So I want to stay connected to my children's school while also expanding that. And I'm excited that my kids are in CFB schools and my family can engage in the arts and sports events. And so attending events out in the community where I'm accessible to the public so that I can communicate with them and be available to answer questions and also just listen is important. I'm going to ensure that I'm continuing to grow professionally by studying valid and reliable sources to support my own professional growth as a board member so that I can make informed decisions based on our community and also on reliable evidence from many sources. I will be transparent, trustworthy, and it's important to recognize that the role of the board member is not to personally fix every challenge presented to me, but it's extremely important to know that the board is elected as individuals, but we govern together. And that's such a great thing about our school board, because we can all come together to use our strengths as we set and monitor goals and the performances of our district.
Well, thank you. Actually, just to give everyone who's watching us, those were the prepared questions that each of the candidates had received in advance. And we have gotten through this much quicker than I thought we would. So you all are just on point on everything. We're gonna open this up to questions. I know people who are watching us on Facebook can ask some questions. We're gonna do that in a second. But a couple things that got brought up while you all were talking that made me want to ask this first question. I think, again, going back to, the pivot that every school district, every parent had to do to educate their children. But I think the big issue that I think we're seeing come out of all of this is the mental health issues. And I think just my opinion is, even if we get back to the new normal, whatever that is for next school year, how is the school, like you said, you've got the after hours counseling, but are there other things that you think, and I know I'm asking this off the top of your head right now, that you think that, do teachers need to be better prepared to see some of the signs, because a lot of times you don't know somebody's struggling, what goes on in their head, you don't know about. So just like I said, I sprung this on you all, but just kind of what are your opinions on the mental issues? Because we know that's been kind of the big side effect, I think, of the remote learning. And actually, we'll start with Sally.
Okay. So I do agree with you, Margaret. I think that the mental health issues that our children are going to experience and are already experiencing are going to create challenges for us going forward. And I support our district's initiatives to address those. I think the best thing we can do is to put an emphasis on the campus level so that there are people in the buildings that can respond immediately, because you just never know when these traumas are going to present themselves. And that's going to be the challenge for years to come. Is our children have experienced all sorts of trauma over the past year, between parents losing jobs, losing their homes, possibly losing their lives or immediate family members. And those kids may be doing just fine today, but tomorrow may be a very different story. And so I would support our district's initiative to put the right people on our campuses that can respond immediately. And then we plug our families into this after hours counseling. That's obviously not an immediate way to address the needs. We have to have people there on site that can be available to our students. And as a board member, I will continue to support that and fund that. I mean, that's the big piece of this, is that with the ESSER funding that is sitting in Austin right now, that would allow our district to have more resources available to us for years to come to address these mental health needs. And we owe that to our families at this point. So my hope is that the funding's coming. Call your legislators. And with that funding, we will do the right thing to address mental health.
Okay, great. Sydney, your take on the issue.
Yes, and thank you for this question, because mental health is very near and dear to my heart. It's what I studied in school, and I actually was a mental health intern for a homeless shelter where I work with kids called Family Gateway in Dallas. And one of the things that I hope that we can do is increase social emotional learning skills with our teachers, and have different trainings, not only with teachers, with admin, anyone that is interacting with students, because studies have shown the benefits of developing stronger social emotional learning skills, as they can increase positive social behavior, they can improve academic performance as students, and they also can help students be less aggressive and disruptive in school. With students having like 10% fewer psychological and behavioral or even substance abuse problems when they reach the age of 25. And research also suggests that these programs affect the central executive cognitive functions, which improve a student's inability control planning and their ability to switch attention from one task to another. So it's very essential, as our students practice the new behaviors that they learn in the SEL, which is social emotional learning programs, that they develop stronger self-regulatory skills as well.
Okay, and Cassandra, your thoughts on what the school district should be doing with the mental health issue?
So optimizing the social and emotional health of our students and staff was a part of our Vision 2030. So our district was already preparing for and planning for how we could optimize in this area, but the events of this past year have made it even more of a need and necessity. And I'll echo the fact that we must have our legislators continue to fund the availability to funds so that we can continue to have support systems. But I think it's important that it starts within the classroom. Our teachers are the closest to those students on a daily basis. They see and hear them. They can see their facial gestures. They can see the emotions of a child, the way they handle themselves and hold themselves, and they're able to see things from firsthand. But we must provide training and ongoing support to ensure that we are effectively preparing our teachers for the warning signs and making sure that they then know the next steps. Because we can't put that weight all on our teachers. We must then have distributed systems at the campus level and then even at the district level, to where as the warning signs happen and it escalates through, that we are able to support that child in multiple ways. And we need to have systems in place that keep things very private and confidential, because some of these challenges that these students have are emotional to them and their families as a whole. And we must maintain that confidentiality as we continue to really work with each family and meet them where they are at the various times that the emotional roller coaster is going to happen.
Okay, great. So, Grace, I know you're staging us. I am going to throw it over to you. So if you want to open it up to our Facebook questions, we will do that and we'll answer those questions. And then when we get through with those, we'll let everyone have a few minutes to have any final say or any final thoughts. And we can't hear you, Grace.
Rookie move. Ladies, you've been so phenomenal. Thank you so much. And, you know, I'm going to just pop up Alex's comment real quick. I hope most of you know Alex Segal with Sandpack 5-Star Ford and Chevrolet, but he just said, you all are so eloquent, smart, and on topic. Target. Would any of you like to run for city council? So, anyways, I would actually like to have permission to ask one of the first questions. As a representative of the business community, we are the future employers of these students. May I ask, what, ladies, do you feel like is the key role of integrating business with the decisions of the school district and how we support our students to foster, right, again, a future generation of our next American leaders? Do I pick the order? Do we go backwards again?
I think we should start with Sally. We'll go that way.
Perfect.
I think our business community is one of our greatest allies in our school district. It's important for us to recognize that the product of our school district will eventually be our workforce of tomorrow. So it is important as a district that we're paying attention, listening to the needs of our employers in our area, so that we are educating and preparing our students to graduate to be successful employees for these companies. It's exciting with the P-Tech college program that's coming to Ranch View next year, because that is a partnership program with not only the high school but local businesses, so that students can have internships, mentoring programs, so that they are lined up for success when they graduate and have those job connections already out there. If we weren't producing good graduates, our employers would have to seek employees from outside of our area, and we don't want that. We want our graduates to stay here, raise their families here, and be able to work here. So I think that partnership between our chamber and our school districts is so important, so that we can make sure we're all on the same page with the same ultimate goal of producing high achieving graduates that are ready to enter the workforce.
Okay, Sydney, you're next.
Yes, I think this is such a great question. And I think our district has done a great job with expanding our CCMR team, and they continue to do amazing work. I think that it's important that we hold a partnership with businesses like the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce, because like Sally said, some of our students are going to need those skills, and we're equipping them with those skills to be able to go into the workforce and be productive members of the community. So I would always encourage a relationship. I know some of our schools have mentor programs, and would ask that maybe we can get some of the members of the Chamber of Commerce to be mentors to our elementary school students, our middle school students, our high school students, because community values are very important to me. And I think and having such a strong business partnership with the Commerce and having them pour into our students will ultimately be beneficial to them as well.
Cassandra, you're up.
All right. So I actually have a very vivid memory of my own high school experience where I interned at a hair salon. And that was my first kind of entree into the world. And it was a class period at the end of the day in high school. And it was through that experience that I had mentors that I still stay connected with. And I still have a necklace from one of them that reminded me of how important our connection was. And so I think that it's really important that we as a district work collaboratively with the business community to identify ways that we can support each other and continue that journey of mentorship, like Sydney said, that I know we already have in place. But even now, especially as we're coming out of COVID, those mentors and that connection, not just the reading, but also the connection for those children to have someone that they can connect with is critically important. And I would say that our business community is an extreme asset in our school system to connect at that individual level. And then also as a district, we need to understand what is it that our community is seeing in the business world that is something that students aren't coming into the business world with. You know, a lot of those skills are developed in college, but it starts early. A student's ability to manage their executive functioning is critically important. And so if we can form a way to communicate with our business through human-centered design, where we're prototyping together what it looks like and building that connection with each other, I think we're going to be even more effective at continuing our partnership.
That's great. Do we have any other Facebook questions, Grace?
Yes, we have several. So you ladies are doing great at speaking with brevity, clarity. It's definitely powerful. So we'll get through these as quickly as we can. But again, feel free to answer as thoroughly. So we'll pop up. We have two here from Lucy Gore. So the first one is, as an elected board member, who do you feel you represent the most? The teachers and staff, the students, or the community who voted you in?
And we'll start with Cassandra. We'll go that way this time.
So our children are the reason why we are here. We are here to educate the future of the future generation and ensure that we are meeting the needs of our children. Our teachers are the cornerstone to that. We have to have highly effective teachers that are working as tirelessly as our teachers are, and we have to provide them with high quality professional development and ongoing learning so that they can support the needs of our students. And in addition to that, our community that wraps around us, our teachers and our students are a part of our community, and it's vital that we are all working collaboratively together. But ultimately, it comes down to the children. And if we're not effectively servicing our children and ensuring that we're meeting their needs as a whole child, whether that is, it has to be academically, but academically, socially, and emotionally, they are the reason why we are in this business. Public education for our children is the key. And then we must wrap that with our teachers and our community.
Sydney, if I remember the question correctly, who do you think you represent? The teachers, the students, the community?
Thank you. This is a school board position, and so my heart would love to say that we represent our students first, and I know that we do. But the reality of the situation that this is an elected position, and we are elected via our community. And so I don't want to be remiss to not understand or the importance of our community, and that we represent the entire community of CFBISD. And that includes our students, that includes our teachers, that includes our staff, and that includes our parents as well. And as elected officials, the voters are our bosses because they can vote us in and they can vote us out. And so I think it's important to recognize the community as a whole, but know that our hearts and our minds as school board trustees has to be on our students. But it's ever changing, and it's a melting pot.
Sally?
So I, as an elected official that is responsible for taxpayer dollars, that is obviously a significant responsibility of a school board member. However, it is a very fine balance between representing and speaking for the taxpayers, the staff, and the students. I honestly don't think you can say that you can shift your focus or attention too far any one direction, because that is detrimental to the overall cause. And so it's hard work. I mean, I will be honest, it's hard work to be able to speak that you have made decisions for your taxpayers in the best way that you are able, while at the same time speaking and representing your staff, as well as ensuring your students are receiving the best education as possible. Our goal is the best return on investment, but in doing so, it has to be a very fine balance of working between all of those pieces of the puzzle, because without one, we can't have the other. And it's tricky business, but keeping it balanced well is what makes us a successful district.
Great. Grace, next question.
All right, this one I believe was posted earlier during one of the conversations, so may reference what one of you ladies had said. But I think we were talking about the learning deficits and the shutdown. So how specifically, and this is from Lisa Contreras from watching on YouTube, how specifically will the learning deficits be determined? Are you suggesting more standardized tests? And or what are some of the solutions or possibilities related to bridging this gap of the last year and a half? And I guess I can go ahead and peg us to Sally.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks, Lisa Contreras, for the question. So I do not support our standardized testing from the state. I feel like that is a snapshot in time, one moment that we are trying to capture a child's full knowledge and then use that to determine state funding and ranking of our schools. It's just not fair to our kids. I do support ongoing assessment of our children so that we do know where they are and how their growth is happening throughout the school year. Our district uses a program called MAP testing, which is done at incremental points throughout the year, beginning of year, mid-year, and end of year. And teachers can use that data to really be able to identify where their students are from moment to moment, past year to current year, and then how they grow. And it's individualized so that the teachers can meet them where they are. That data is what helps to drive our instruction. That I support. I do not support our state standardized testing that is stressful to our teachers and our children and truly is costing us as taxpayers millions of dollars and is not giving us the outcomes for the data that we really need.
Okay, Sydney?
Yes, I do not agree with more standardized testing. My daughter took the STAR test for the first time ever yesterday, and I can't explain to you how much that was a stressful situation in our household. It was her first time taking it because of COVID. She didn't get to take it in third grade. And just seeing the effects that it had on her, not only mentally, but physically, she couldn't sleep. She was having nightmares, and I would never want to put more standardized testing on our students, especially after the nightmare of STAR. But I do think that we already have a great tool that we use within our district with our MAP testing. And I also think we should also rely on our teachers because they know what's best for their students. And we need to support them. And we could do growth check-ins. We can continue doing the MAP testing, but as far as standardized testing is concerned, I do not advocate it and I do not support it.
So as far as the accountability test, the STAR test, it's a one-shot test. It is for accountability purposes, and at times it is used out of context to look at student growth and progress monitoring, and that is not the purpose of the assessment. So I think it's really important that the district has chosen to use MAP testing that is beginning, middle, and end of year. That is a computer adaptive test. And what that means is that for every child, they get questions along a continuum, and the computer identifies through the programming where the stop point for that child is. And it kind of fluctuates back in there, and then it says, okay, they're here. And by using that data about that individual child and then using that data for all the children in the classroom, teachers are able to make instructional groups more effectively and be able to use that data to determine what are their next steps as they monitor the progress and implement instruction and intervention that can monitor the growth. So I think we have a great system in place with MAP testing. MAP testing is not aligned to the Texas standards. It is a national normed assessment, and I think that's important to note. But we have a system in place. We need to ensure that our teachers are continuing to be effectively trained and that we're providing time, as we did this spring with the Friday planning days, time for teachers to review the data, analyze the data, have team planning time around the data so that we can effectively identify what the next steps are and how we're going to move forward with the learning loss.
Great.
Very good. Next question comes from Raphael on Facebook. He just wants to ask, are there any particular issues that motivate you to serve on the board? So I'll go ahead and peg back to you, Cassandra.
So my motivation for serving on the board is based on my 17 years of experience in education. From being a teacher and a district MES specialist and seeing the return on investment when you invest in a child means so much to me. And now working in educational research and being able to study the effective things that we do for our schools and how we can use educational research to make effective decisions that are research and evidence-based, I have a passion for ensuring that we have that on the board. I know we already have wonderful board members that have lots of evidence, and they're from various different positions, including at the university level. And I think we need to continue the trajectory of making sure that we continue to have that. And I am truly motivated by the fact that public education is so critically important, and I care about our children, our staff, and our community, and I'll make sure our future is bright and that we're continuing to make the best decisions while stewarding our taxpayer dollars and investing in our children.
Sydney?
Sorry, I didn't know if you were going to call me or if I should just go. Sorry about that. I've been an engaged member of our community on the Bond Oversight Committee, on the Collaborative Vision 2030 Committee, and I ran last year and came up really, really short. And I think my why is still the same. I'm passionate about public education. I'm a parent in this district. I'm passionate about this district that I love, and I wanted to step up and serve more. And I really believe that my lived experiences really echo and are similar to the students of this district. I know what it means to be a low-income student of color. I know what it means to be a first-generation college student. I know what it means to have to decide whether if I'm going to help my mom help my mom pay the bills or do my homework at night. And I feel like I have very lived experiences of our students, not only of my upbringing, my socioeconomic status, but as a mother, as a social worker, as a community organizer, as a civil servant. And I want to bring all of those different lived experiences and those lenses to this board, because our community deserves to have a diverse and equitable board that represents not only the students, but the community in which we serve. So that is my why.
My why is easy. This is my hometown community. I've lived in Carrollton Farmers Branch my entire life, 42 years. My children go to school here. I've been invested in giving back to the community through servant leadership since 2005. I've served on numerous boards, commissions, district level committees, PTA boards galore. And this was the just logical next step for me. I have a servant's heart. I mean, plain and simple. And it has been a complete honor to serve since 2018. And when people ask me, why do you do it? I say, because I can and because it's right where I need to be. And I've been happy to do that. And I hope to continue to do so going forward.
All right, Margaret, I'm going to peg one of these questions to you. We have 2 questions remaining in a few minutes. I'm fine sticking on here and running longer if you ladies are up for it. Otherwise, we can. That was a beautiful, kind of, I feel like cherry on top. So I'm going to open that decision up to you, Margaret.
Well, I think, we're almost to an hour point, and I know everyone gets kind of tired of sitting and watching a screen. And I'm noticing in my office, I'm getting closer and closer to being a shadow tonight. Keep getting darker. So I will just, I think we should wrap this up. If we'll start with Sally, if you have any wrap up comments, anything else you want to say, and we'll go through everything and then call it an evening.
Okay, very good. Well, I want to thank everyone who tuned in tonight. I want to especially thank Margaret, Grace, and Alex, who's behind the scenes, for your collaboration in making this event happen. I have a proven record of leadership and advocating for public schools in our district for the past 12 years. As the current vice president of the school board, I continue to bring my passion and years of engagement to advocate for our staff, students, and taxpayers to ensure that we have the highest return on investment. I will continue to work tirelessly to ensure our district is fiscally responsible and prepared for the future. We have years of work ahead of us related to the impact of the pandemic, and I'm fully invested in the success of our district while supporting our students as they overcome the achievement gaps of the past year. My leadership has not gone unnoticed. I've received the endorsement of both the mayors of Carrollton and Farmers Branch and many other elected officials. To learn more about my campaign or endorsements, please visit www.sallyderrickforcfb.com. And again, I am Sally Derrick, and I'm asking for your 2 votes on this May 1st school board election. Thank you.
I want to say thank you to Margaret and Grace and the Metro Crest Republicans, as well as the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce for this wonderful opportunity. Like I said earlier, this is not my first time. I ran last year and I came up short, but I did it again because I am really passionate about our district, our students, our teachers, our staff, our parents, and I really do truly have a servant's heart. I've been a part of this community for years. I know the school system well because of my experience serving on the Bond Oversight Committee and the Collaborative Vision 2030 Committee. And that hard work has not gone unrecognized, because I do have the endorsement of community leaders such as former school board member Candace Valenzuela, our state rep Julie Johnson, and our urban city council former mayor pro tem and also now city council at large candidate Pastor Dennis Webb. I've been an active participant in our schools. I've attended our school board meetings, and I know that I am ready to represent our students, our parents, our teachers, and our staff. I'm asking for your 2 votes for me to be your next school board trustee. Early voting is April 19th through the 27th, and election day is on Saturday, May 1st. Please visit my website, Drake4, and that's FOR, CFB.com, to learn more about me and my vision for our great district. Again, I will tell you my platform is quality, equitable education, supporting educator effectiveness, fiscal responsibility, and transparency. And again, my name is Sydney Drake, and I hope that I have your 2 votes.
Well, Margaret and Grace, I appreciate you facilitating for us tonight, and a big thanks to the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce and the Metro Crest Republican Club for hosting this forum. As we strive for continuous optimization of our district, school board members that understand the public school system and education overall are critically important. My 17 years of experiences and successes in teaching as a district specialist, managing educational grants, and educating future educators and principals provides me with the effectively advocating for and monitoring the goals related to these priorities that we have as a district. As we continue to identify the needs of our children in our district, careful consideration of our financial investment in high quality resources to meet the needs of our children where they are, and ensuring that the resources support our teachers in being efficient and effective at growing our children academically, socially, and emotionally is going to be critically important. You can learn more about me at hatfieldforcfb.com, and if you believe in maintaining research and evidence-based decision-making, that teachers and staff should have opportunities for leadership and growth, and that community engagement to support a culture of lifelong learning is important, then I would ask you to consider 2 votes for Cassandra Hatfield as your next school board trustee on or before May 1st. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank everyone who is watching us, and I want to especially thank the candidates for the Carrollton Farmers Branch School Board. I also want to thank the Chamber of Commerce who co-sponsored this with us and did all the technical stuff. Really appreciate that. And again, you have 2 votes. You can use them to vote for 1 person or 2 people, and make sure to get out and vote. And thank you. And I'll pass it over to you, Grace.
Thank you, Margaret, and genuinely, thank you, ladies. I will just echo what Alex said earlier. You all are very eloquent, very smart, and it is encouraging to see that there are passionate people who want to be in positions of leadership that affect community. And again, as representing the Chamber of Commerce and our business community at large, we know that this is a key component of growing the future workforce of America, and that these relationships are key. So thank you for taking your time. Thank you for all those who are participating, who posted comments. We really appreciate you. Again, this is a community-led effort, so you all are wonderful. Thank you to the Metro Crest Republicans Club for even, allowing us this opportunity to share the stage with you all. So everyone, as you can see, be sure to vote local May 1st. Early voting is available as well, as Sydney highlighted the dates on that. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out to any of these ladies. I'm sure they'll be happy to meet with you one-on-one or for Zoom or coffee or something to answer any questions and get to know them so that you can make the best decision possible for our community. So with that, we'll go ahead and call it a wrap. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.